Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. There's clearly thousands of people here for those that are watching at home. Thank you for coming. Sorry I was late. All the bathrooms were closed. And then there was a lady in the elevator, and she was lost, and she needed some help, but she also couldn't speak English. But eventually I made it, so thank you for coming. So I want to talk about Security Champion's worst practices. And I'm going to, actually, let me tell you first what a Security Champion is. So it's what I used to be. So I was a developer, and I was very interested in security. And I kept talking to the security team all the time, and I kept wanting to learn the cool thing and try the thing, and I reported the security incidents, and I wanted to hang out with the pen tester, and I was going to fix that bug, and ooh, how does that scanner work? Can I use it? And then eventually one day, the security team gave me a job because I was so annoying. And it turns out that you can actually try to encourage that type of curiosity, and you can actually train people and form a community within where you work of developers or even just average employees, like non-technical employees, where they're very fascinated and interested in security. And you can train them, you can give them responsibilities, you can get them to help you by giving you tons of awesome feedback and advice. And a Security Champions program is where you formally do that. And so I've done that. I ran 2 programs myself full-time, and then I've helped 49 companies run programs as a consultant, because I really am excited about this. And one of my clients one day was like, this is cool that you've helped us create this whole plan. Dude, what goes wrong? Can you give us a list of things to not do? And so I went through all my notes from all my other programs, and I came up with this big list, and they're like, this is amazing, thank you. What if you told more than just us? I was like, oh, my clients are smarter than me. That's such a good idea, thank you. I should do that. And so that's how this talk was born. So so if you want to build a champions program, these are things that I want you to not stumble over. And so we're going to talk about security champions programs. What can go wrong? How to do better. I have a bit of a spoiler alert. So security champions programs are all the rage. They're so cool. But a lot of them actually fail. I would say even over half of them fail. So people read a blog article and they're like, oh, this will be so cool and it'll take no effort. And then everything will be awesome and I won't have to do anything. It's actually a lot of work to get right, just like any community. And so I have a thesis. A lot of people start a program because they want to reduce friction. Like everyone, we want to get along better. They want to scale their program. They want to improve their culture. They want to have better communication. But a lot of companies, when they start this, they don't have a clear vision, a realistic list of goals and measurables and deliverables. And then because they don't have a clear thing they're trying to achieve, they achieve something, but not necessarily what they were hoping. And so I want us to actually achieve what we're aiming for. So first we have to choose a place so we can aim for it and achieve it. I know that sounds weird, but I would say of all the companies I've worked with, maybe 3 had a list of specific measurable goals when I started talking to them, and all the rest were better culture and stuff. I want them to fix things and not have me have to nag them, which is a goal, but it's not really super specific or measurable, there's no plan behind it. So let's go. So you might be thinking, who's this lady who's wearing the nicest shirt ever? I don't know if I have told some of you yet, but they lost my luggage on the way here. And so the lovely people from Diana Initiative came and met me last night and gave me shirts so I would have something clean to wear today. So thank you, volunteers. That was really nice. So the mandatory about me slide. We do this slide to try to convince you that we are competent and that maybe you should listen to our talk. So I'm a security advocate at Semgrep. I'm known as SheHacksPurple. I really like purple. I was really happy when they gave me a purple shirt. I wrote books, Alice and Bob Learn books. It is now my 29th year in tech. I have started a whole bunch of things. I'm an advisor at some startups, Smithy and Catalyst, and I give secure coding training. So that is what I do, and hopefully you're like, she seems fairly tolerable. I will put up with this for now. Okay, So I did a bunch of research for this talk, and I've been told that you can't just tell people the answer. Apparently you're supposed to tell them how you got the answer, like in math when you were young. Who here like would give the answer and the teacher's like, no, you have to show your work. So apparently I should show my work. So I did some surveys. I did surveys on social media and on my newsletter of a few thousand people. I asked on social media questions, but I also did surveys. I worked with 52 different organizations. I built 2 programs personally. And then I did interviews with a bunch of experts. So I went on a bunch of webinars and just quizzed people that also are obsessed with this, because I wanted to make sure that so not all my assumptions were correct. Also, a lot of my programs were specifically in Canada or the United States. I'm Canadian, that's that accent you hear. So at some point at the end of a sentence, I'll say A, which means that was a question. And the only correct answer is yes. Okay, so. AI is really weird, and a bunch of the images, so all the images, or most of them, are from AI, and they're just weird. So you can look at the silly mistakes and spot creepiness, and you are absolutely allowed to laugh and giggle. Sometimes I point them out, and sometimes you'll just be like, oh, 3 arms, cool. I thought I'd point that out because I'd rather you laugh with me. Okay, so agenda. So why would you want to run a champions program? This will be short, because if you're in here, hopefully you're like, that seems cool. Then the big part, what goes wrong? And then how can we do better? And then I added a section of further research since I first wrote this talk, because I wrote this talk and then a lot of people wrote messages to me and told me more stuff. And so then I added additional research because I just learned so much more and I thought I should share it. And then a conclusion where I'm like, we learned this stuff, hopefully. And here's where you can learn more stuff. Okay, so the main reason, so people say a lot of reasons why they want to start a champions program, but when you boil all of it down and we're being kind of honest, we just want to reduce friction. So we might say a whole bunch of other things, but if we all worked really nicely together and we didn't have a bunch of friction, everything's better. Every single thing is better. And so I'm going to give you a bunch of other answers, but this is the biggest reason that people start something. But let's look over some other things. So we want to basically improve our security culture. We want to have a better, more positive attitude from our devs, but also from us. Right? This is pretty common. Also, we would say it's reducing friction. We want our developers to be a bit more proactive, right? We would like the dev teams to contact us and be like, I saw this weird thing. Can you come take a look? Or I'm going to try to do this. How do I do this safely? Or, oh, the scanner, so many things. Can we talk about this? We would love it if they'd fix more bugs. If we could have security incidents reported to us faster, we would save money. If they're reported to us faster, sometimes we can fix them before they're embarrassing. We want, quite frankly, to have nice days at work. If you have serious friction with all your devs and you work in AppSec, your days suck. They're really long. I don't know about you, but I'd rather have friendly relationships where we get along and we have trust and I can tell them, you know what, I actually don't know the answer to that, but I will find out by next week. And they're like, cool, instead of, wow, the AppSec person really doesn't know what she's doing, right? If you've built trust, you can have psychological safety to admit you don't know things, and then we do better work. You could avoid a security incident altogether. I've had lots of champions stop things before bad stuff happens. And then this one is one that a lot of people don't think about, but I got hired to the security team after acting like a security champion. This is the best hire you could ever make, right? Because they already have tons of corporate memory and knowledge. You've already approved that you already know they're a hard worker. You have a really great reference generally, and you've trained them and molded them into what you want. This is the best hire you could make. And And I want them to talk to me like all the time. I want them to ask me instead of Stack Overflow or ChatGPT. I would like it if they trusted us and they knew that we were there for them, because then less bad stuff happens. Like, just because they ask Stack Overflow doesn't mean the answer is for sure bad, but sometimes it's not very good. And then lastly, this is another one that people often didn't think of. So when I was running I was running a community of practice for my software developers for 3 years. And I was working in the Canadian government, and it started with just my team, then it was all the devs, then it was all of IT, then it was our entire department, and then eventually I actually was streaming it across the entire Canadian public service, because I only know how to do big things, and I don't understand how to do small things. And I remember getting a call from HR, and they're like, "What have you been doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, shit." And I was like, do you my community of practice, like every week or two, we have this event and we teach them stuff about security and like cool tech things and even nutrition. Am I in trouble? And she's like, your absenteeism is almost zero on your team, where last year it was very high, like 2 to 3 weeks off per person. And you've had teammates missing 0 days. All of them are missing only 1 or 2 days max. And you've had 0 turnover in a year, where you used to have pretty high turnover on your team. How did you do that? And I was like, and I started paying attention. Security champions quit a lot less often, and that's super valuable for those of us that have had to hire. It is a pain in the butt. Okay, so hopefully your champion programs seem like pretty cool. Maybe I need one. Okay, now what goes wrong with these programs, and how can we do better? And this is going to be almost the whole presentation. Oh yeah, and then the conclusion. So what can go wrong and how can we do better? I need to just point this out. This is like a double-sided chainsaw. Like, how does a chainsaw have 2 sides? Like, how do you use that? You're just like, ah! It makes me think of Klingons with their crazy swords. Anyway, so the AI is already at it. So I'm going to give you a list of things, and I'm going to say them quickly. And I do this to tell you what I'm going to tell you. Then I tell you. Then at the end, I tell you what I told you. And I know that sounds weird, but these are a lot of complex ideas, and I really want to have you remember as much as possible. So please forgive me for repeating myself. So, oh gosh, that's so small. I'm sorry. Can anyone see this? Oh, okay, perfect. It wouldn't save. It was like, this font doesn't exist. I'm like, no, I see the font. It's right there. And it's like, I'll replace it with this other font. I'm like, I'm sure that's fine. Sorry. Okay, a pace that is not maintainable. Unclear responsibilities. It's super hard to deliver if you don't know what you're supposed to deliver. Involuntary volunteers. Failures in recruitment. Unrealistic responsibilities, no top-down support, lack of metrics, poor educational planning, I wasn't sure how to word that one, unmotivated, unhappy champions, poor social settings, again, I didn't know I'll explain that one, and then very high turnover. And so we don't want these things happening to us, so how do we avoid them? So the first one is the security team sets this pace that is completely unmaintainable, and then the security team burns out, they drop the ball, a security incident happens or something, they get distracted, and the program completely disappears. So I've seen this quite a lot, where the security team's like, we're gonna do 2 presentations every week. We're gonna do a full week of training the first month and 2 days of training the next month. And we're gonna do 5,000 things with our champions because we love them. And then after 2-3 months, the security team, who has a whole nother job, is exhausted and they just can't keep up with it. And this is one of the most common things that I see. And so how do we avoid that? So start slow. So if you're we're gonna have a thing every week, nope. You should have an event every month, right? If you're we're gonna do 5 trainings with them this year, do you have budget for that? Right? I try to set out a plan and then run it by other people I know to ask, does this seem cool? Yeah, one event per month is a lot. I've had a lot of people, because I create content, they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start streaming online. I'm gonna stream every day. I'm like, you're gonna hate yourself on day 4. And then by like day 8, you'll be done. Instead, what if you were nicer to yourself and you streamed once a week, which is still quite ambitious? You can always add more. But it's really hard if you tell everyone I'm gonna stream every day, and then in 2 weeks from now, you've disappeared. I try to plan at least 6 months in advance. And I know that sounds obsessive, but then if a security incident happens and I'm super distracted for a whole month, I still have my plan and I'm still ready. I check to see that I have the resources for the program that I say that I would. So like you need to have all the resources you have to run your program, to do your job, and to have at least one ongoing security incident at the same time. And if you have that, then you are good. I try to run my plan by someone. Oh, and then that was it. At the end, I'm gonna have a QR code where you can just download a PDF of all of these slides. So you don't have to take notes. Okay, so number 2, no responsibilities are set out, and the champions literally don't know what you want from them. And so how do they achieve a goal that is a secret from them, right? I have definitely been on calls where someone's like, oh, well, they should know. I'm like, okay, so that sentence tells me there's a problem. I don't know how to read minds. If someone here knows how, if you could teach me later, it'd be so awesome. Okay, so solution. We set super clear goals, and we tell them over and over again, these are our goals, right? So when they sign up, we're like, this is what we expect from you. This is like what we're hoping for. This is what's in it for you. This is what's in it for us. And this is what we need from you. And this is what we're gonna give to you. So examples. We want to train you, and then we want you to give security advice whenever possible to your colleagues. We want to create and maintain a more positive culture on the dev teams, and here's how we're going to help you do that. So there's this company in Quebec that I've worked with a fair bit, and they have thousands of devs, and all their devs do is threat models. And they've threat modeled everything in their gigantic, huge organization. Their devs threat model better than the security team at this point because they've been doing it for years. And like it's working great for them because they have super clear goals. I want you to add security checkpoints in the system development lifecycle. Make sure you call us when you get to that point. I want you to triage the scanner results. I want you to build security tools or security features. This would be a very intense activity for champions, but some teams choose that. I want you to be a liaison and a communicator between both teams. I want you to initiate security fixes and assign who does what. I want you to influence and inform us, the security team, about what's to come so that I can be ready and look really smart when you're like, oh, we're building a serverless app. Can you review this architecture? Because you told me last month and I got ready for it in advance. Okay, so. Even more. Maybe I want you to help implement security tooling. Maybe I need you to help socialize our projects, which by that I mean tell people about it and don't say that it sucks. I want you to take secure coding training and then help others on your team code more securely by doing, reviews of pull requests or something. Oh, okay, so there's a lot of things on this list, I know. Okay, so champions that are forced to volunteer, so they're voluntold, if you know that expression, and then they're resentful. Because we are adults, we are not children, but guess what? Children don't like it either. My kids will tell you. Okay, so how do we avoid resentful champions? So first of all, we attract them instead of making them do it. So for me, upper management, they're mandatory to support this program. If upper management isn't supporting it, the program won't go. But if I'm forcing people to be champions, they're gonna be crappy champions. I don't think the word champion applies. So what I wanna do is attract people that are curious, that are interested, and that are open. And so I let them see everything first, ahead of everyone else. I ask them for feedback, then I take that feedback and I actually react and do things about it. I have events like lunch and learns or trainings or other things where they get extra. I invite them to security community events with me. You could potentially start a newsletter. You could share appropriate secrets. Only appropriate is supposed to be in quotes, not the secrets, but anyway. So there are some things that you could tell them and swear them to secrecy, but not the super important things. You have to judge that for yourself. You could send them cool podcast episodes that apply to their work. You could meet them one-on-one and ask them what they need help with, but then you have to help them. You could hold team building events so they get to know each other. There's even more in number 4. But basically, I have like 4 million ideas of what you can do to attract people to your program. So the next thing is, what if you just can't recruit champions in the first place? This is usually what happens is people do a not great effort at this, and then they're like, I'm going to force people to be champions. It's been 2 weeks and we don't have everyone we need. This is obviously a problem. And I'm like, no, it's okay, we can do this. So how would we solve this? Again, attraction, but like, we could hold events that are open to everyone, and then the people that come to lots of events, you invite them personally. Or if they ask a lot of questions, you invite them personally. You make it clear to the champions why it's good for them. A lot of security teams are like, I'll tell you why it's good for them, because it helps my team scale. Really? That's good for them? So we have to word it as things that are like helpful for them, like it's good for your career, it's a step towards being a senior dev, etc. I like to announce that I'm looking constantly, whether it be in an email, a newsletter, at the all-staff meeting, putting a sign on the fridge, whatever it is to let people know. I even added it to my email signature at one organization. So I was like, I'm looking for security champions, ask me how. And we got 4 emails, and 2 of them became champions. And like, we only needed 10 champions. So that was 20% of all the people we needed. If you give security training to everyone, but then tell them, especially if you can get the trainer to say it and talk about how cool it is. This is a thing that I get asked a lot when I'm giving the training, like to tell them how champions are the coolest thing since sliced bread, and they should so want to be one, and P.S., maybe you're starting a program. Invite people, so don't order them. Invite people that you think might be interested. Put a sign on the fridge in the kitchen. You can hold open office hours. So even if you're virtual, you can just have a Zoom meeting that's every Thursday from 2 till 4, and you're just hanging out doing AppSec stuff, and you're willing to show people, and it's just like, come on in, ask questions, hang out. My friend Vane did this, and it started from 9 till 10, 1 day a week. But then she would get to work, and there was all these people waiting. So then she did it 2 days a week. She ended up doing it 5 days a week, and it ended up going 9 till 11 every day because she had so many people. Like, she'd arrive at work at 8:30 and she'd have 3 people in line. And so clearly people wanted to talk to AppSec. Send an email to everyone in all of IT asking them if they want to join. Assure, this is really important, assure every single person that you're going to teach them what they need to know. You do not expect them to know it up front. A lot of people will feel insecure, they don't know the things, and it's like, we know you don't know. We are planning for that. And ask managers to suggest someone, never to order someone, because sometimes they're like, oh, there's this person and they're really shy, but I actually think they'd be good. Okay, unrealistic expectations. I have to go a little faster, I'm noticing. The security team expects the champions to perform basically the whole AppSec program for them. Wouldn't that be nice? It is obviously impossible to do the whole AppSec program on top of your regular job. That's not realistic. I remember one company saying, we're just asking for 20 to 25 hours a week per dev. What's the problem? It's like, oh man, this call is gonna be rough. Okay, so solutions. Create realistic expectations, right? Think about what you actually really need help with and what's a priority, and go from there. Be fair. If the roles were reversed, would you be cool with that? Probably not. Be super specific. Like, again, be very clear with what you expect from them. Okay, so no support from the top. This is like not gonna work. So if you do not have upper management support, you need verbal support, financial support, resources, staffing, processes, policy. If the people from the top are like, no, your idea is stupid, Tanya, it's not gonna go anywhere near as far as it could. And so to get support, I like to make a presentation. So I didn't always do presentations. Like my first presentations were not so good, but you can get good. And if you're really nervous, that's normal. Eventually you won't be nervous and you'll just be like saying the things you need to say. So if you're like fearful of public speaking, you're not weird, you're normal. Create a project plan that is achievable and reasonable and show it to them. Explain the potential return on investment. If you can bring in, so if you have money, so this assumes you have money, so this is a hard one, but if you can bring in consultants who have done this before, they can almost guarantee success. That can be really helpful, even if it's just like the first 6 months, so you have like a really smooth start. Show examples or case studies of other programs that did well, and don't assume people understand what a champion program can deliver. A lot of people don't know what it is, they don't know how they work, and they don't know what you can achieve. Number 7, no metrics recorded, which means it's not obvious that there's any return on investment. And this makes getting approval next year pretty hard if you have nothing to show for it, right? So take metrics, then tell everyone. Sounds easy, right? So what does that mean? So you could do, so a lot of programs do like a karate belt systems sort of thing, like white belt, yellow belt, stuff like that, or like silver, bronze, gold, stuff like that. That's cool. You could use a learning platform and track how many different lessons that they do. You could track their participation in events, like attendance, do they ask questions, etc. You could, so of all the programs I've worked with, over half, they hadn't done any metrics. And then they're like, why can't I get any funding? I'm like, would you give you funding? And they're like, crap. So I want you to get funding. Champion coverage. So how many champions do you have per product or app? And like, are you missing some? Answering security questionnaires. So like, are they doing the SDLC stuff that you asked for? Like, are they calling you when a threat model is needed? Are they triaging the results that you expected them to? Are phishing instances going down? Even if it's just like the champions are not clicking and everyone else is, that shows a huge advantage. Do they seem engaged? And whatever goals you've set, measure against those goals. That's the absolute best way. So if the goal is, every scan is triaged within like 2 business days, and then that's happening, right, then it's good. And measure them against the responsibilities you gave them. So there's your goals, and then there's their responsibilities. Okay, number 8. Poorly planned education. So the security team has no idea what to teach them, and they run out of ideas really quickly, and they're just like, I don't know what to do with all these guys. So how do we fix that? So a thing I did when I started, so like I didn't have any talks, I didn't have any lessons, and I had invited every single OWASP speaker I could find that was willing to talk for me, and then I ran out of them, or they wanted money, which is reasonable because I'm asking them to work, but I didn't have money. So I went through different conference talks that were recorded, and then I would pick really good ones that applied to them, and then I would watch it with them and talk about it with them. And so that is a really cheap thing you can do. I outsourced. So you could hire someone or ask friends to come speak for your team. So if you have an OWASP chapter, a DEF CON chapter, ISACA, ISSA, etc., if you participate in those and you see a speaker that's good, be like, hey, can you come to my office? This might sound weird, but like when I did my community of practice, so I used to like bake a lot before I realized I couldn't eat gluten, and that's why I was feeling crappy all the time. But when I did bake, I would just be like, I'll bake you a cake, and they're like, I'll be there. And like a cake with like normal flour is like $5. It's really cheap, and I liked doing it. So I just baked a lot of cakes, and I know that sounds crazy, but like cookies, cakes, and other carbs work really well. You could bring in professional trainers. That's sort of like a supercharge type of thing you could do. You could also purchase a security training platform, like memberships to things like Pluralsight, or like I'm not recommending them specifically, but there's like piles and piles of things like that. You could hire a company that runs security champions programs and get them to handle it. So I work with Catalyst, and that's all they do, right? There's like a bunch of companies that will do this for you. You could ask permission to present the work of others. So in my GitHub, which is just SheHacksPurple, I have 2 talks, one intro to AppSec and the other one intro to DevSecOps. And I've open sourced my talk. So I give you my slides, I give you notes of exactly what to say. There's a video of me doing the talk, then there's a video of me talking to you about how you should present my talk. And I did that because I want people to know those lessons. You could hire a company to do a tabletop exercise. That's super cool. There's so many cool things you can do with them. Unmotivated champions. I remember one of my friends explaining to me, there's always gonna be some duds, Tanya. Most of my champs are, like, there's a couple where they're amazing, there's a whole bunch where they're good, and there's usually 1 or 2 where I'm like, you're just better than nothing. And they're out there, unfortunately. So, you have lots of champions, but they don't do anything. Usually it's more like you have lots of champions and 1 or 2 of them are not doing anything. So, what do we do? So I try to be very clear and restate the goals and responsibilities, whether that be one-on-one or in a group. And I like to report on, as a group, here's how we're doing, aren't we great? So that I'm not singling a person out, but they might be like, oh crap, I was supposed to be doing that. I try to use a reward system for people that do well, and the rewards can be all sorts of things, including your time. I remember I had the CISO meet with me at my first security job, and he took me for lunch, and he was really cute, and everyone in the whole building had a crush on him, and everyone's like, oh my God, you had lunch with Phil. I'm like, I know. But anyway, he was super cool and told me all these wild stories, and just completely wowed me the whole lunch, and I just felt so much more bought into everything after that. And not only because all the other women were jealous. Eventually, we could replace champions that don't do well, right? If you've talked to them and they're still not doing it, it's like, hey, I really want to give this other person on your team a chance. Would you be okay with that? I try to always be nice. I try to share metrics with them so they can see how their work matters, on top of all the engagement items that we're already doing. Okay, poor social settings. So lack of social skills, hosting skills from the security team leading to awkward meetings and interactions. And I specifically sent her out this lady because I have a friend who wears a hijab and she's a genius, but anyway, and she went to go work at this new place and this guy cornered her in a room and then closed the door and locked it behind her, and she was like, and he's like, you're Muslim, and she's like, I have noticed. And he's like, I need you to tell me if I do really inappropriate things. That's your responsibility to tell me. And she's like, inappropriate things like the thing you're doing right now? He's like, no, not this. And she's like, And she ended up having to really teach this guy lessons about how to not be so weird. And eventually things worked out, but that's bizarre. I'm gonna lock you in a room and tell you it's your fault if I'm weird. Exactly, right? And so if your social skills aren't perfect, we wanna work on them. So, solutions. I think communication training for the security team is a giant win. It really is. I took communication training in my early 30s because I became a manager in the government. They made me take 18 courses about all different things. And I learned about even just changing the pattern of my voice depending upon the staff member to get better reactions from them, how to change my body language so it was more inclusive. And I'm not perfect, I'm still learning, but it helped me so much because when I was younger, I used to be extremely blunt. I would just say the exact thing I wanted, and Canadians do not like that. And so I'm a big fan of communication training. Bring in consultants that are good at this and then follow their lead and learn from them. They can help train you. If you have the ability to hire, if you can bring in a community manager, they're so magical. They're so good at this. Realize that no one's perfect. If you're weird, you might need to apologize. That's okay. Apologizing's okay. We just always want to be respectful, right? So if you F up, it's okay. All of us do. Just be like, so I was weird and I'm sorry. And probably the person's like, cool, let's not do that again. And then usually things are fine. Okay, last one, high turnover. Oh, second last one, high turnover. So champions leave after a short time. meaning you have to start all over again. That's expensive. So how do we avoid that? So 1, we do all the engagement things I said. So not just for the first 3 to 6 months, but we keep doing it. Like every 6 months, there's some sort of social thing for the champions to get to know each other. If every time you go to the champion talk that's once a month, your super cool friend is there, that's exciting then, right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna get to see Robin, this is the best. Versus if you're like, oh, it's awkward, I don't know anyone, you're building a community. Make the value clear to them and reinforce all the amazing things that you've achieved because of them. Make expectations clear. Ask for feedback regularly, especially a survey about how they're doing, if they're still interested, and how you could do better. I ask that a lot. Like, I'm like, oh, how was that? I'm like, how could I do better? And people have great ideas. Not every idea you should do. Like sometimes people are like, you should give us $200 a month. And I'm like, okay, no. But if you ask them, they probably have even better ideas than you do because there's 30 of them and there's 1 of you. Okay, so slightly more info. Updated research. So this is a long list and it'll be in the slides. Champion burnout. So you've given them so much to do, they just can't keep up. Loss of interest over time. So the first year it was cool, the second year it was okay, the third year it was meh. Incentives that aren't obvious or tangible, so they don't feel appreciated. You not giving them feedback, so they don't know if they're doing a good job or a bad job. I once worked somewhere for a few years, and the whole time I worked there, I never got a performance review. They kept giving me a new boss, and the new boss would be like, oh, well, the old boss should do it, and the old boss is like, I'm not doing it. And I just never got a performance review the whole time I worked there. And if you work somewhere for a few years, you should really get some feedback. Poor communication. Champions not empowered to drive change, so they don't feel like what they do matters. Micromanagement of your champions. Who here likes being micromanaged? There's no roadmap, there's no maturity model, so it's the same year after year. You focus only on their technical skills and not on their communication skills, not on processes, not on all the other parts that make them super, super champions instead of just okay champions. Having no budget, that's a hard one. Not celebrating wins. So I try really hard to tell them when a champion's done something awesome, like this person reported this thing, we investigated, and it turned out this was happening, and we managed to catch it before it went to prod, like superhero status for this person. No succession planning, so you have no plan if a champion leaves of how to replace them, or how to replace you. Champions feeling isolated, too much focus on compliance, not enough focus on the culture. Champions have no tools and no resources. This is surprisingly common, especially in the government. We can't give them a security tool. They'll all start hacking us. They have browsers. If they wanted to get at you, you'd be dead. Yeah, devs can do anything they want. They don't need our permission. One-size-fits-all approach, so you're just treating every champion the exact same. They're all unique individuals, and I know if you have 200 of them, you can't treat each one differently, but if you have a smaller program, if you could treat them individually, that will be a win. Okay, so now we're wrapping up. We're so good. All of you are amazing. Okay, so conclusion. Kitties. Okay, so what did we learn? Security champion programs will fail if we are not super specific of what we're trying to achieve and intentional. We talked a whole bunch of reasons of why they fail and how we can try to avoid each of those items. Several ways. Oh, basically I just said that. How to build a really good program. Like a lot of the tips I gave you are just like how to build a good program. And then now I have some resources for you. 3 minutes left, right? I'm so on track for 3 minutes. I built a free academy. All the courses in there are free. If you sign up for a course, you will go on the Semgrep newsletter, but if you need to, you can unsubscribe. There's secure coding and other things in there. I wrote a 9-part blog series about champions, and I'm biased, but I think it's good, and my mom said it was okay. I wrote 2 books, and if you build security programs, you want this book. If you write code, you want that book. And my friend Dustin created something called a Security Champion Success Guide. And it taught me a lot. And so it might teach you something. And it's free, and I think it's cool. I have a free monthly newsletter, and it is about me, my content, and where I'm going to be. And so if you like this, there's so much more, and most of it's free. And with that, I want to leave 2 minutes for questions. These are my presentation slides if you want to get them. And that's it. Thank you so much.